My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Libras. I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot. For today, I'm going to be doing a general reading of past, present, future, 9 card spread. I'm going to be using the regular tarot deck, clarify with the vampire deck, draw a special vampire card, draw a vampire oracle, and then draw 3 yes or no answers for thee. So let's get started on your reading. Okay, the general card is the Queen of Wands reversed. I'll just put these here. So let's look at the first row, which is also your past. Okay. You get the Hierophant reversed. The Moon reversed. And the King of Cups. Yeah, it looks like, that, there was some kind of, diplomatic kind of, agreement, maybe, discussion, or some kind of, plan of some kind. Because the thing is, it first starts off with the Hierophant reverse, meaning you're kind of going up against the status quo, the standard of norms, path of some kind. But then, well, the thing is you realize that with the Moon reverse, it wasn't really, bringing you anywhere, or, the end result wasn't actually, leading you any closer to, your final destination of this combination. So, but eventually, you kind of change course, and you pretty much just thought, okay, the thing is that you decide to kind of, will proceed with the standard of norms eventually, because the thing is as much as a lot of humans don't like, bureaucracy for that matter, what I kind of see here is, if you wanted to, it's like, it's best to plan ahead, to make sure that, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed for that matter. Because, the thing is with the Hierophant reversed, if you wanted to go up against standard of norms, it requires a lot more planning, and, if there's no other alternative ways, then eventually you do have to kind of, follow through eventually. But, I'm kind of getting, if you wanted to become an entrepreneur or something, and then eventually you probably thought, well, I don't really have the resources immediately for that matter. But let's continue. In current times, you start off with Star reversed. Sad but true, I'm not allowed to show that. 7 of Swords and 2 of Wands reversed. Okay, well, the thing is it's like, if you wanted to actually, create something or become, some kind of entrepreneur of some kind, in current times your wish is not being fulfilled. You're still strategizing, and planning something with the 7 of Swords, but you realize that it's still not bringing you any kind of luck or fortune in the end, or any kind of movement. And the thing is with the 2 of Wands reversed, it's kind of like not feeling prepared about the future for that matter. Yeah, well, the thing is, I can't really relate to this, though, it's like, I would understand how people would probably, see it, well, for a vampire to want to start, a tarot business and stuff like that. But the problem is, it's like the difference between, vampires and humans is, first, it's always going to be a false equivalency no matter what. But second, it's like, I wasn't really planning. I mean, I loved, doing tarot even as being a human and stuff like that. But the thing is, it's like, oh yeah, I feel like I am currently getting my wish fulfillment, not trying to say, oh yeah, it's like, I win and you don't for that matter. So don't even, please don't, think of me of saying, oh yeah, look at you, Miss Gabriella, for that reason. But, well, the thing is, it doesn't mean that all hope is gone. It's only, it doesn't have to, be resonating for everybody. If you pretty, and second, it's like we still have to do clarification, which often gives a different perspective on these things and stuff like that. But yeah, okay, we're gonna have to keep going and stuff like that. But yeah, if you wanted to be prepared, whatever you work on right now, will pretty much, will probably increase the chances of having a different future for that matter. But, yeah, let's just keep going for that matter, because, since you don't feel prepared, you get the Fool reversed of not wanting to take action, and you're missing opportunities with the Ace of Pentacles reversed, but somehow you are overcoming some kind of nightmare in the end. Well, maybe you're kind of coming to terms with, any kind of voyage or endeavor for that matter, where you pretty much just think, okay, well, maybe if I wanted to, set sail, on this course alone and stuff like that, maybe it wasn't actually a good idea. Because sometimes it's always good to ask other people for advice and guidance and stuff like that. Because the general card, sad but true, is Queen of Wands reverse, meaning, it's like you don't really have the courage or the strength within you to want to, pursue this goal or endeavor for that matter. But it doesn't mean that it's, it resonates for everybody for that reason. But okay, it's like if it were to resonate and stuff like that, I do see you overcoming some kind of nightmare in the end, so eventually you do get some kind of happy ending. But let us clarify these cards for verification. The Hierophant reverse, you kind of went up against the standard of norms because you were probably being presented with some kind of opportunity or options with the Six of Pentacles. Now, the Six of Pentacles is kind of like a giving or receiving kind of card. So the thing is you were probably presented with something to say, okay, maybe, hypothetically, if this was like some kind of school project or maybe a prerequisite, or I can't really, get anything concrete right now. Of course, it's a general reading for that matter. But yeah, maybe you did get, a lot of support or a lot of, guidance from other humans and stuff like that regarding, wanting to go up against the social, norms of whatever. I mean, hypothetically, if you wanted to create like your own channel, your own business for that matter, okay, maybe you're just kind of, not following the whole, everything to the book, like in that saying. So, but, the thing is, the Six of Pentacles is still, a very promising card because because maybe you were, presented with some kind of resource of some kind, and that more or less kind of motivated you to want to actually pursue this goal or dream or wish fulfillment of some kind. Because you did get the Star. Because with the Moon reversed, you get the Moon. Okay. So the thing is maybe, it's like in the past, okay, you were being presented with this opportunity. And even though it may seem like, you're not really heading towards a goal, the fact that you get one Moon reversed and the other one is upward, the thing is it's like you were actually heading towards this one, probably endeavor for that sake. And in the sense, that, maybe, it's like, you were advised for that reason, to actually, head towards this, even though you pretty much just thought, well, it doesn't really look promising at all. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like, if, hypothetically, this one sense that's kind of going through me is if, your guidance counselor, for example, high school, college, career for that, reason pretty much just said, okay, it's like, if you want to, embark on this, like, solo journey of being an entrepreneur for that matter, okay, it's like, well, first, maybe you have to take out a loan or something, or maybe you have to do anything, that it took just to kind of like, even, go up against the status quo of that, situation and stuff like that. And here you are, or actually were, since it is past tense, you were pretty much, heading down towards this, voyage of some kind, even though it pretty much, didn't look promising at all, or maybe it was just kind of, something that was kind of holding you back, maybe a bit of hesitation for that reason. But either way, it did look like that there was some form of movement in the past. Because for the King of Cups, you got the Seven of Wands. So, you were in a very diplomatic position and you were defending this cause, okay? And just because, it could have not been a star wish fulfillment afterwards. The thing is this is you actually finding your ambition and motivation. Amazing. Why? Because the thing is it's like, sometimes when you go up against the standard of norms, like, okay, this is where I can relate to you, regarding the vampire, perspective, is actually, I did kind of go up against the standard of norms in the sense, it's like, I'm not a human doing tarot, a lot of humans, they would probably just think of, tarot, done by humans or by, other, like, just humans in general, and you would never really ever think about a vampire ever doing tarot, right? Well, the thing is maybe I'm the first and only tarot or vampire tarot, for that matter, but maybe there are other vampire tarots out in this world, I don't know, because, why else would they have these vampire tarot cards in the first place, right? So, but that's kind of what I see, is that you were already defending this cause, even though you were probably, going upstream against the standard of norms of whatever it was in the past, because even though you didn't get your wish fulfillment in current times, you get the Seven of Swords. Now, the Seven of Swords is kind of like, has, mixed senses, on a positive note, it's all about planning, strategizing, and, and using, your logic about, your whole plan. So maybe, and so now it's like, yeah, if you're faced with any kind of like setback, if you pretty much just think, okay, everything looks all, well, clear as water to me, and so now I'm going to execute my plans for that matter, and it doesn't work immediately, it's like on the negative side, it could be, that somebody, will lead you astray and gave you false promises and hopes, and more or less it's kind of, put you in a position where, you don't get any kind of wish fulfillment for that reason. But it could also mean that, even though, despite that you don't get a wish fulfillment, you're still working hard on actually pursuing it. And that's, where you're pretty much, using your logic and your strategy and planning, to try to increase the chances of your wish fulfillment coming true, right? I'm not surprised. Because for the Seven of Swords, you get Queen of Grails. So the Queen of Grails is like a very loving, caring, nurturing. It's Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio energy. But this is where you're pretty much actually increasing, your chances as well. Even though you may not feel prepared and stuff like that, sometimes you do have to kind of go back to, the first level or the first square of the board, for example, and just say, okay, it's like we're going to have to redo it. But it's not because, we're failures in any way, but we just only have to tweak our plans a bit better to increase the chances of that it'll work out in the end. I mean, the thing is, you are overcoming some kind of nightmare in the end, so, who knows, right? So, but the thing is this is where you're actually nurturing your plan, because that's what water is also about, is healing, caring, loving, but also nurturing. This is where you're pretty much watering your metaphorical seeds of ideas, thinking, okay, it's like, it didn't work at first, but, if we apply maybe, well, something different, a different kind of plan, maybe from a different angle or from a different source or whatever it may be, then it'll probably, increase the chances of this beautiful idea, this whole, Hierophant reversed idea actually will, coming to fruition. Wow. Because with the Two of Wands reversed, you don't feel prepared as of yet, but you get the Ace of Swords. You're going to be putting more time and effort, and I'm not surprised. And this is one of your beautiful cards for being the King of Swords, the Queen of Swords, the Ace of Swords, the Page of Swords. So, but either way, take it how it resonates. But even though you may not feel entirely prepared, sometimes it's good to keep moving and just to keep at it, even though you might just think, oh my goodness, what am I even doing? Because sometimes, the unforeseen circumstance can still commence, It doesn't mean that, oh yeah, I'm not prepared, so I better, make sure I'm prepared first. Some people, it's like they kind of, take the leap of faith, like even with the Fool in the end, but even though it may, come across as that you might not take chances at all, but this is you actually maybe tweaking, your plan even in current times. Because the thing is if something doesn't work, whatever whatever has so much value or something, doesn't always come easy. So whatever means so much to you, sometimes, you have to, do it 2 or 3 times and stuff like that till it eventually does work for you, and not just think, okay, it didn't work the first time, so I guess it's game over. It's like, yeah, whatever worth having doesn't come easy. I was trying to remember that one. And this is where you're actually, tweaking your whole ideas. You're correcting your mistakes and stuff like that, which I think is very beautiful. Because despite the Fool reverse in the end, you get the Four of Grails. Okay, there's hesitancy in the future. Okay, well, the thing is, it's like, maybe you're sensing, that there's hesitancy right now, and that it will start contributing to more hesitancy in the future, and that's what's causing you to kind of hold back and think, what, I'm not so sure I want to actually, pursue this goal, endeavor, voyage, quest, whatever it is, or was in your life. Okay, well, the thing is, it's like, again, nothing ventured is nothing gained, but if something really has no value and you're starting to come to terms with it, because that's kind of also, I mean, technically, yeah, no, because normally with the Seven of Swords reversed, that's, kind of coming to terms with it, but since both of them came up upright, the thing is, it's like, maybe you're finally coming to terms where you either have to, maybe, put it on a simmer for a while, maybe let it go for a bit. I mean, again, I'm only just a tarot guide, your vampire tarot guide, so I would never tell you exactly what to do, unless you really want a personal reading for that matter. But other than that, well, the thing is sometimes, yeah, you do have to let go of any kind of like, a voyage or quest because, it's like, well, you don't want to keep spinning your wheels, and just kind of ending up in nowhere. But again, it's like, nothing worth having, comes easy. So sometimes you do have to put a lot more effort into something that really has, well, such great potential in the end that you pretty much just think, okay, we're just going to have to keep at it no matter what. Because despite the Ace of Pentacles reverse, you get the Prince of Scepters. It's like the Knight of Wands. So even though you may potentially miss this financial opportunity, or maybe this is where you're kind of letting go of it, even though you pretty much still have this passion, this, this motivation in you to even, want to, we'll try to revive this Ace of Pentacles situation, because I want to make sure in the end for the, yeah, okay. Well, the thing is, what I see here is maybe you're just, kind of, trying out, different, chalices, different flavors and stuff like that. And maybe eventually, you might just say, okay, okay, I tried something, it just didn't work out. I put time and effort into it, but you know what, to no avail. Okay, well, the thing is, it doesn't mean, that you're a failure in any way. These are just experiences in our world and lives. So the thing is, it's good to try different water sources, chalices, flavors for that, reason, till something really, connects with you, and not just think, okay, well, I tried something and it didn't work out, so I'm just a big failure. Never consider you a failure in any way. Never. I would never consider you a failure, and I hope other people, around you would never do that, because here's you actually coming to terms with it and letting go of whatever just, wasn't working, and then you get the Temperance, the Sagittarius card. So, in the end, I do see you coming to terms. Maybe, it's like you are going to put it on the low simmer for a bit. I mean, I would never consider letting go of anything, because the thing is if I were to let go of, my tarot ship, business, I wouldn't even be here to give you my 301 years of experience and advice as a vampire. So, here's, you're going to be in a very serene, balanced, very at peace mindset, because maybe, it's like, I mean, it's like, this could also be you reviving your plan or just keeping it on the low simmer and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes it's good to sometimes shelve your ideas until, something, eventually clicks and stuff like that. Or maybe, you might, come back to it and stuff like that. And then it actually, turns into a real, successful story in the future. I mean, again, I'm not a seer. So, but sometimes, it's like what you work on right now will have, some kind of impact on your future and stuff like that. So if you pretty much just think, well, I'm not going to let go of this idea as of yet, sometimes maybe in about a year or a few years or something, your plan will become this real grand idea, and that's how I pretty much can, will relate, regarding my tarot business, despite being a vampire. Okay, your special vampire card. Four of Swords. Okay, so what I see is that you're going to be resting in the future, stuff like that. But this is kind of also like, you put a lot of time and effort into something, and maybe, it might even work out. I mean, it's like, this is just a general reading. So, maybe, your whole planning of whatever you were working towards and stuff like that will eventually work out. And here you are pretty much resting up from all the hard work that you put into this voyage or quest, whatever you were working, towards and stuff like that. But it could also mean, that you're just kind of, letting something go just temporarily, hopefully, just kind of thinking, okay, let's just rest up from all the time and energy that we spend on this whole voyage and stuff like that. Because in order to actually, get back out into this world, it's really important to have so much rest and, energy to be able to pursue other goals, or maybe even the same goal and stuff like that. So, wow. Because what does Oracle have for us? Ecstasy, yielding, rapture, and bliss. Okay, well, the thing is, I'm not really, sure if this card, really resonates in any way, but in any form of ecstasy or any kind of bliss or rapture, well, the thing is raptures are kind of like, having this breakthrough of some kind. I mean, maybe, it's like, I wonder if this is actually going to be your rapture, you hold this breakthrough of your idea. Maybe you are definitely going to be, waking up and thinking, wow, it actually worked this time. Or maybe, it's like, even just kind of walking away from a bit, suddenly, this unforeseen circumstance, takes place, and then it's like, wow, who would have known? And anyway, I do sense, ecstasy and bliss for you. So no matter what, that's what's also going to help you, rest up with any kind of, a Four of Swords card here. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish off with 3 yes or no answers. Please feel free to pause this video and think about the questions you want to answer. Because speaking of the 7 of Swords and the third 7 of Swords that came in reverse this time, it's a yes card. So for answer number 1, it's yes. For answer number 2, it's no with the 5 of Cups. And for answer number 3, it's a yes with the King of Wands. Okay, well, my beautiful, amazing Libras, I'm going to have to leave it at that. But if this reading resonated, please feel free to join and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for your love and devotion towards my channel and myself. I love you guys incredibly. In a few days, I'm going back to love readings, so for now I'm just doing general on love. I'm also open for personal readings, and all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, post in the little discussion box below that you want a personal reading from me. I'll respond to you with my email, and we'll start the process from there. But otherwise, thank you so much for your love and devotion towards me. Love you guys incredibly, and best of luck on this beautiful, raptured plan of yours.